Yes, that's true. That's exactly true. That technique is very, very versatile. And you know, something really interesting happened to me a couple of months ago. I was at JFK Airport. I had to fly to Dallas Fort Worth and connect to New Mexico. And I was at the boarding gate, and unfortunately the flight was very, very delayed. I looked around, the people were getting increasingly stressed, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm gonna practice what I preach. I'm not in control of when that jet gets off the ground, but I am in control over how I respond to that jet being delayed. And so I took out my book, took out my headphones, started playing music, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm actually happy the jet is delayed. If there's something wrong with that jet, I want them taking it back. I want it being fixed. Check the oil, check the air in the tires, check the windshield wiper fluid, check whenever you want. I don't want that plane taking off until you're ready for it to take off. And so we wound up getting on that plane. I took my window seat, and I'm watching the people coming down the aisle. And I see the guy who's destined to sit next to me. He was a big, tough, mean, angry-looking guy. He kind of looked like this guy over here. He did. And he sits down next to me and he says to me, "Hey, how are you?" And I said, "Fine, how are you?" And he growled something at me. I'm not even sure what he said. He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico." He said, "What are you going to do there?" I said, "I'm going to give a speech." He said, "On what?" I said, "How to maintain serenity in times of stress." And he said to me, "What are you, some kind of a psychologist?" I said, "Well, something like that." And he said to me, "Well, I got a problem. You got a minute?" We then proceeded to have a 4-hour therapy session. And he didn't pay a penny. He didn't pay a penny for it. And if you were to come out with a stopwatch and timed how much of that time he spoke and how much of that time I spoke, no exaggeration, it was about a 9-to-1 ratio. He spoke 90% of the time. I spoke 10% of the time. And when we got to Dallas Fort Worth and they rang that bell and we all jumped out into the aisle and there we stood frozen. I think it's you guys in first class who slow everybody down. Finally, we started moving. And we get off the jet, we get into the terminal. The guy pauses, he puts his hand out, he shakes my hand. He says, "You're the best conversationalist I've ever met in my life." And I didn't say anything. I hardly said a word. And then he said to me, "I never believed in therapy until now. That was a great therapy session." And you know what? I hardly said anything to the guy. I did not offer him a solution to his problems. But what I did give him was the gift of listening. And when you can give somebody the gift of listening, genuine, authentic, caring, empathic listening, you're giving them an amazing gift. You will make them feel dramatically better. Their stress level will go down. The cortisol level in their blood will decrease. It's an absolutely beautiful thing that so few people do and so few people experience in life. That's a beautiful thing, and it's a very powerful thing. And listening, therefore, is truly the most undervalued, underutilized aspect in the very fascinating communication equation. Now the question becomes, if you do want to offer a solution, are there techniques by which you can do it? And the answer is absolutely yes. In my opinion, the best is what is called the inside-out coaching method.